Hey, what's up guys? This is Steve with Build Life, and this is my outdoor wood boiler. Today I want to talk about my outdoor wood boiler. We're going to look at the maintenance involved as well as the cost. So if you don't own one already, or if you're contemplating buying one, you can make a good decision on whether it's right for you or not. If you already own one, we're going to do some of the maintenance. We're going to change the water in this today. It's something I had a hard time finding a video on, so you can use this as a how-to. If you do own one, leave in the comments below how you feel about whether or not it's worth having. Be helpful for the people who don't already own one. Okay, so let's talk about maintenance. The good thing is they don't require a ton. So there is a ash door in the bottom there, an ash pan. I knock that out about once a week. My model has some rockers in it. You could knock it down, but you want to keep a good coal bed in it because that holds a lot of heat. It'll keep your fire going. I probably empty that ash pan maybe a couple times a week. I pull it out. I empty it into that steel garbage can you can see there, and then I dump it in the woods. I try to burn stuff without nails so I don't have a bunch of those that I'm dumping in the woods, but I put the ash on a compost pile. It's good for the garden, and that works real well. There is another door in the top. Once a year I clean that chimney out. I scrape that through that door. It has a little slide tray you could pull out and clean it out, and at the end of the year I clean out the inside real good. Scrape it all down, clean it out. I do it at the end of the year so I don't have to do it this time of year. You can see on the inside of that door, well, you probably can't see it from here, but there is a rope that goes around the door. I cleaned the door off real good, and I replaced that during the summer. It uses a high temp silicone to hold it in place. I wanted to do that when the temperature was above 70 degrees. Not good to caulk things or use sealants when it's real cold out, and I figured in the winter I'd have a fire going in there, so it's probably also not good to have it in 300 degrees. So the one kind of high maintenance thing that needs to be done is an additive. This is a CF205. I bought this from Alternative Heating and Supply, I think it's called. You could find them online. And I also just put some regular kitchen. This is not quite a gallon, but you put a gallon of white vinegar in there. It says how much you need to use on the bottles. There seems to be a pretty big range, so I don't think you could screw it up. But I'm going to put these bottles of each in the door on the top. I turn the pumps on the boiler. I won't go over all the controls of the boiler. There's plenty of other videos for that. How to light fires, things like that. Homestead Jay has some great videos on the wood boiler. You can go to his channel and take a look at them. But I'm going to pour these solutions in the top, and we need to let it run. It says 4 to 8 hours for it to cycle through the pumps, through the heat exchangers, everything. So we turn the pumps on in the boilers, let that happen. We'll go take a tour of the wood yard, talk a little bit about how the system works, propane versus wood, while that cycles, and then we'll come back and drain it, fill it up with water, we'll put another additive in it, and then we should be ready to get this thing lit, and we'll start making heat. So let's do it. Okay, so here is my log yard. Most of this firewood comes from our property here. So we've got about 10 acres. The neighbor next to me has 10 acres. His dad lives on the other side of me. His is mostly farmland, but he has some timber too. So we really don't have to go far for the wood. A lot of the reason we heat with wood is because we have a good supply of it. And if we didn't use it to heat the house, we would just be burning it in a big pile or giving it away, I guess. For my skid steer, I take big rounds like this one. I split them into manageable pieces like you see over here in this pile, but I keep them big. The bigger they are, the longer they burn, but you need to split them a little bit so they dry out. Dry season firewood gives you better BTUs and you get more heat for your house. I have some of these cages. You see a lot of people use IBC totes like this. We put them in my garage. We burn them in our wood insert. We use them for campfires. Here are some of the logs that are ready to be cut up and split. I haven't done it yet because I need to use what's in that big bin this season, and then it will be empty or close to. There's that big Top Dog firewood bucket. I bought that from outdoors with the Morgan's video. Mike was using one for his operation. It works really well. Here's some more logs. Like I say, as soon as that big pile in that concrete bin is gone or close to it, I will probably split what's left over into those bins into smaller pieces for indoor use, and then I will cut and split all of this into stuff for the boiler, and I'll put it down there in the bin where it can sit for 8 months and season until we're ready to use it next winter. Okay, so let's take a look at what we heat with our outdoor wood boiler. This is my house. It's about 3,300 square foot ranch with a full basement underneath it. We have 2 forced air furnaces in the basement. They have a heater core, kind of like how your car works. It goes in the plenum on top of the furnace. When the fan comes on, it blows hot air across that and it brings it up into the house. This is my shop. We're burning propane now, but again, it's 34 outside. I keep the shop at about 50, so we're only heating it up about 15 degrees. This is about 4,300 square feet. I heat the entire thing. There is propane. It's an on-demand boiler. Both the house and my shop are spray foam insulated, so they are great insulation. They are newer buildings. We have insulation in the slab under the floor, and we don't heat it very much. So we're not requiring a lot of heat this time of year because it's not very cold outside. But it is starting to change. We're in northern Illinois here, so it is supposed to be in the teens towards the end of next week. So I want to make sure we got this thing running and it's ready for it. And I think it's the time of year here to get this going. 2 years ago was the first year that we started this. It was colder than it is now at the end of October. So that year we went through a ton of wood because we heated the end of October, November, December, January, February, and most of March too. Last year I didn't even fire the thing up until like now. It was into January before we fired it up, which is really unusual, but global warming or whatever you want to say. Anyways, it really depends on the year what's going on, but those are the things we heat with it. Let's talk numbers, since I think most of you are here for that who don't already own a boiler, and probably some of you that do are sort of interested in how it works out for someone else. Our unit cost about $10,000 to purchase new. It might have been $9,850, something like that. That's US dollars. The concrete pad, insulated lines for the underground, heat exchangers, the heater cores and the furnaces, pumps, PEX, etc. was about another $4,000 or so. I buried the lines, poured the concrete, ran the lines through the foundation, set the unit myself. I paid an HVAC friend to do all the inside of the house and the shop. I paid him about $5,000, give or take. It was a lot of work to hook it up. So that's about $19,000 total. I won't get into what I spent on the firewood splitting equipment, paved log yard. I would have that stuff anyways. We enjoy fires inside on a regular basis, whether we had the boiler or not. But, you could spend thousands more. I mean, if any of you guys watch firewood channels, you could spend, $200 on a used log splitter. Mine was $800. All the way up to $20,000 or more if you want to get a processor. You could just get crazy with that stuff. But let's just say I'm about $20,000 in. Now you could buy a lot of propane, or if you're someone who's on natural gas, that as well. So it is a bit of an investment up front. When we first moved here, I have a neighbor that lives down the street. He has the same unit I do. He's the one that gave me a referral to buy my unit. He has a big place, lots of outbuildings. He doesn't even have them all hooked to it. He heats a swimming pool with it. He heats quite a bit. He burns all year long. And I said, why do you do this? You can certainly afford a gas bill. What reason do you have for spending all this time gathering wood, splitting wood, burning it? And he told me it's like a game. When he gets up in the morning and walks out to his boiler and the fire's still going, he won that day. And I think that says a lot. It's a great way to start your day off. I feel that way as well. I like the fire, I like the smoke, I like the smell. My whole yard smells like a campfire when I walk around. I like that nostalgic feel. I really like burning wood. I like heating with it, I like splitting the wood, I like everything about it. So for me, this is sort of a hobby, but it's one that comes with a payoff. I really enjoy doing this, and I think if you're someone that doesn't think you would enjoy burning wood, splitting wood, loading your furnace, going out in the morning when it's 5 degrees, doing it again at, middle of the afternoon, and maybe again before you go to bed, this might not be for you. Okay, so it's been about 5 hours. We're gonna go ahead and turn off these pumps. Now we need to drain the unit. We'll fill it back up, put in an additive, and we'll light a fire. Something I want to bring up, I shut these valves off here. Those are the valves to the loops going back into the house and the shop. I shut them off so that I'm only draining the tank. The reason we do that is because I don't want to have to bleed those lines out again. So I isolate the lines, drain the tank. I'm going to shut the valve off once it's empty, and then we'll fill it back up from the top. While that drains, let's talk for a minute. My unit is a Heatmaster C500. It's a very large unit, and it is not a gasifier unit. Gasifier units are more efficient. They will use less wood, and they'll make less smoke, which is an issue if you live close to other people. I do not. I bought the biggest unit I could find because I'm heating a lot of square footage with it. If you don't have a need to heat that much space, you can buy a smaller unit. They come with a smaller price tag. A lot of people ask how much wood it takes. I hesitate to say this because there's so many factors that go into it, including how seasoned your wood is, blah, blah, blah. But an easy rule of thumb, I think, is a quart of wood per 100 to 150 gallons of propane that you would use without the boiler. Again, there's a lot of factors that go into that. The first year that we burnt with wood, I was shocked at how much it took. My unit is less efficient, but I can burn rotten fence posts in it. So you can burn anything you want in it, which is not the case with a gasifier. I think if I had to do over again, my unit is sized for the square foot that I have, but my square footage, a lot of it we don't heat very warm because it's shop space and it's very well insulated, so we may not have needed this big a unit. As far as the gasifier, I thought, well, I can cut trees down and shove them right in there. I wind up splitting them up and seasoning them anyways because they're easier to handle that way. So, take that into account. The first year I split what I thought was 3 to 4 years of wood. It barely made it halfway through the second season. I had less than half of what I thought it would take split. So it's something to keep in mind. If your only goal is to save money by heating with wood, this is probably not the deal for you. If you're not someone that likes to get out and work hard, it's probably not the deal for you. But if that's the case, then, I live on 10 acres here. This is a lot to take care of. It's a lot of leaves, a lot of trees, house, outbuildings, things like that. So, if I wasn't into that, we'd just go live in a townhome, have somebody else take care of it. So I enjoy the process. I enjoy the work. This is fun. This is for me. The savings pays for the equipment, but I'm not sure it's the kind of thing you would go make this purchase and do all this work just to save your gas bill. There's better ways to make that money. I've got the boiler tank drained and I shut the valve to the tank off. I left the valves to the loops to the shop and the house turned off as well, and I've run about 100 gallons into here. I'm not exactly sure how big this tank is, but it's a couple 100 gallons in there. I'm gonna pour this A200 boiler treatment in there now because I'm afraid I'll fill it all the way to the top and there won't be enough room to get it in later. So I'll let this finish filling then. I'll put the cap back on. I'm gonna turn the pumps back on. I will first open the loop valves so everything's circulating. It needs to run for a little while before we get a fire lit, but it takes quite a while for this to get up to temp. So if we light a fire, it won't be hot by the time this is done. I'm gonna let it burn into this evening. I'll come out later, put some more wood on it for the evening, because it goes through wood pretty fast while you're trying to warm the water up, as well as why you don't have a coal bed built up in there. I may even leave the furnace off till that fire gets the water in the jacket up to temp. I'm not sure if that matters, but I'll come out this evening. I'll bring you guys with. We'll check on the fire. We'll shove it full of wood. It may be out in the morning, I'm not sure, but you know, first few times getting it going, it takes a little more, and we should be good after that. Okay, so I'll let this run until it's full. I guess the only way I know to tell if it's full is when the water's running over the top, so we don't want to let it do that for too long. We'll put the cap on it, and it's normal for this thing, the water kind of expands as it gets warm. You don't want it to be boiling over all the time, then you got a problem with the efficiency of your stove. But the first time when it's full to the top, we're gonna heat it up. You know, that water will expand, a little bit will come out the top, and it'll kind of settle out. There's actually a float gauge in that cap that will tell you if you need to add water, if it's too high. It kind of works itself out if it's too high. But if it is too low, you can add water to it, you know, in the middle of the winter, whatever you need, provided you've got water. You can use your hose or fill up a bucket or whatever you need to do. Okay, so we're all filled up. The cap is on, the valves are open, and the pumps are running. So all we have left to do is split up a little kindling, start a fire in there. So it's been about half an hour. We have a raging inferno in there. You can see the water level up there coming up. Actually, some of the water is now dripping over the sides, and we're up to about 90 degrees. So this thing should be hot in no time. I gotta shut this door here before it burns the hole. You can tell why the front of that unit's pretty charred, but we're moving in the right direction. Okay, so I came out here just with my iPhone to check on this. You can see this fire's already gone down. We're at 172 degrees. Man, I'm telling you, that couldn't have taken an hour and a half maybe for that thing to heat up, so that's fantastic. Anyways, I'm gonna shove some more of this wood in here, and then we'll come check on it again later. This whole setup kind of looks like a nativity scene. I guess that's festive. But we are up to temp. We are heating with wood now solely in both the house and the shop, as well as our domestic hot water in both buildings. We can always tell when the domestic hot water is working because the limits on our hot water jump up about 30 degrees. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and open this thing up. We're gonna fill it with a little more wood. I might come out one more time before morning, top it off. I'm sorry, before bed, and top it off, but that'll be it.